There are moments in life when something subtle yet undeniable pulls you toward a truth you can no longer ignore, a whisper beneath your thoughts, a pulse beneath your reasoning, a magnetic certainty that moves you long before your mind understands why. And if you are hearing these words right now, it is not an accident, not a coincidence, not a passing algorithm brushing against your path. Something in you has been calling for this, maybe for days, maybe for months, maybe for far longer than you dare admit even to yourself. A quiet ache has been growing in the corners of your heart, an ache you've tried to hide, even from your own reflections, because naming it might make it too real. Yet here you are, drawn again, almost involuntarily, as if your soul has led your hands and guided your timing with precision. You are here because the truth you have been suppressing is ready to surface. You have carried this feeling in silence, afraid of being misunderstood, afraid someone might call you delusional, idealistic, or too attached. But what if the exact thing you fear reveals the depth of the truth you've been sensing? What if your heart has not been exaggerating, but awakening? The world often teaches us to doubt what is most sacred within us, to silence intuition and worship logic. But intuition is not the opposite of reason. It is the voice of the part of you that remembers what your mind has forgotten. And today, that voice is rising. It wants to show you why this person has lingered in your thoughts, why their presence echoes within you, even in silence, even in distance, even when circumstances appear to contradict everything you feel. This is not obsession. This is not emotional dependency. This is resonance. Your soul reacts to this person not because you are desperate, but because something in them reflects an ancient truth you once knew, something familiar, something safe, something strangely, impossibly aligned with you. And though you have tried to distract yourself, tried to reason your way out of it, tried to claim you were imagining things, a force beneath your awareness keeps bringing you back, again and again. The deeper truth is that your heart recognizes what your mind has not yet caught up to. This connection was not random. It was placed in your life with precision. The universe does not orchestrate soul-level encounters casually, and when such a connection appears, it announces itself not through loud chaos, but through quiet undeniability. That serenity you feel in their presence, the strange peace even when communication fades, that is not normal chemistry. That is the soul remembering. You don't feel that with everyone. You never have. And you know it. Look back at the moments when everything outside seemed uncertain, yet the thought of them brought you stillness. That stillness was not delusion. It was recognition. Your intuition has been whispering the same message over and over. This connection is different. This connection is meant. This connection is true. You may try to explain it away, but the peace will not let you. Peace never lies. Fear lies. Wounds lie. Doubt lies. But peace? Peace speaks the language of destiny. And then there is the awakening within you, the parts of yourself that began to rise the moment this person entered your life. Qualities you didn't know were sleeping. Strengths you didn't know belonged to you. Emotions you thought you weren't capable of feeling. Soul connections act as catalysts. They shake the dust off your old dreams. They illuminate your shadows. They challenge your fears, not to destroy you, but to prepare you. That sudden expansion, you felt that surge of emotion, inspiration, or courage. It wasn't an illusion. It was activation. Encounters like this don't just touch your heart. They rewire your path. And yes, the intensity scared you. Of course it did. You wondered if it was dependency, if it was fantasy, if it was your loneliness painting illusions. But be honest with yourself. Loneliness fades when distracted. Fantasy collapses when challenged. Illusion dissolves when time stretches long. But this feeling remains, even when you try to numb it, even when you try to deny it, even when logic stacks itself against you like a wall. Something in you refuses to let go, not out of desperation, but because truth does not vanish when ignored. It waits. The persistence you feel is not emotional weakness. It is the language of your essence. When the soul knows, it knows, and it will not let illusions override recognition. If you have felt this connection pull you back again and again, even after attempts to detach, that is because it is not finished. It has not yet completed its arc. This is not a closed chapter. This is a paused destiny, a cycle preparing for continuation. But then comes the question, if it is so profound, why is there distance? Why silence? Why separation? This is where the human heart struggles to understand the laws of higher consciousness. Destiny does not rush. Destiny does not unite two souls when they are unprepared. Destiny waits for alignment. If two people meet too soon before they heal, before they awaken, before they learn the lessons needed to sustain the connection, the energy becomes unstable, too intense, too fragile, too easily shaken by old wounds. So distance becomes protection. Silence becomes recalibration. The pause becomes the purification. Think of it this way. The universe does not separate souls to punish them. It separates them to strengthen them. You were not meant to collapse under the weight of an unprepared connection, and neither were they. So the pause is not the end, it is the training. The cocoon before transformation, the space where old fears surface not to break you, but to be healed once and for all. And during this time, you have been pushed inward to confront loneliness, abandonment wounds, fear of losing, fear of not being enough. But this confrontation is sacred. It is the fire that forges wholeness. Destiny does not unite half souls. It unites two beings who no longer use love as a bandage, but as expansion. That is the true purpose of this pause, to make you whole enough that love can complement you, not complete you. And as you stand here between what was and what is coming, your heart is preparing for the truth it already senses. This is far from over. What rests between you and this person is not a coincidence, not a fleeting romantic impulse, but the unfolding recognition of two paths designed to meet again once alignment is achieved. You are not losing anything. You are becoming someone capable of receiving everything meant for you. But what you must understand now is that this pause, this space between two heartbeats, does not belong only to you. It is not a one-sided journey where you heal while the other forgets. A soul connection does not operate through linear logic, where one remembers and the other moves on. No, the truth is far more intricate, far more mystical, far more intertwined. The same universal force that has been guiding you inward is simultaneously working on them, shaping them, confronting them, preparing them. Even if it appears from the outside that they have distanced themselves, even if their silence feels cold or dismissive, you must not mistake their external behavior for their internal experience. Their silence is not peace, their distance is not indifference. What you see is only the surface. What they are living through beneath that surface is far more intense than you imagine. For them, this phase resembles the dark night of the ego, a period when every defense mechanism, every layer of pride, every fear of vulnerability begins to crumble under the weight of truth. They have tried to convince themselves that they no longer feel anything. They have tried to drown out the echo of your presence with distractions, responsibilities, new faces, new routines. But distractions that once worked no longer soothe them. Life feels hollow, not because they lack company, but because resonance cannot be replaced by noise. Your connection carries a frequency unlike anything they have known before, and nothing superficial can imitate that depth. So while you have been healing through introspection, they have been resisting through avoidance, yet resistance always collapses. And now they stand in a silent battlefield within themselves, where their soul calls for truth but their ego clings to fear. The universe is relentless in this phase. It strips away every illusion they once leaned on. It removes every emotional escape route they used to run from their own feelings, not to punish them, but to guide them. Because until they acknowledge the truth of the connection, they cannot move forward, not with you, not with anyone. So the solitude they experience is not chosen, it is orchestrated. It is the mirror they cannot escape, the mirror that forces them to confront everything they tried to bury. The fear of losing control, the fear of being vulnerable, the belief that love makes them weak, the wounds they carried long before you appeared, and the deeper they try to push these feelings away, the sharper the universe pushes back. Yet, something remarkable happens in this internal chaos. Their soul begins to whisper your name, not in words, but in sensations, in memories of the way they felt when they were with you, in the moments of inexplicable calm your presence brought, in the strange comfort of your energy. Even when the world around them was uncertain, they begin to realize that no distraction brings relief. No new person reaches the depths you touched effortlessly, and no amount of logic can silence what the soul recognizes as truth. Recognition is irreversible. Once a soul has met the frequency of home, it cannot pretend the echo doesn't exist. They may pretend outwardly, they may appear composed, distant, busy, but inside they are unraveling. The ego hates truth because truth requires surrender, and surrender requires vulnerability. They are fighting a war between their fear and their destiny, but destiny always wins. The universe has been softening their resistance little by little, through restlessness, through sleepless nights, through dreams they cannot explain, through sudden waves of emotion that surface from nowhere. These are not random. They are the universe shaking them awake, and slowly, inevitably, their walls begin to crumble. You are not imagining your connection. You are feeling the energetic shift between two intertwined paths. Their silence is not the absence of emotion, it is the beginning of their awakening. And just like you had to face your shadows, they must now face theirs. The pain they feel is not because they don't care, it's because they care more deeply than they know how to handle. They care in a way that terrifies them, in a way that exposes their vulnerabilities, in a way that dismantles their illusions of control. Soul-deep love does not ask politely, it shakes, breaks, and rebuilds from the core. And that is exactly what is happening within them. Both of you are now approaching a turning point, a moment when the pain of resisting the truth becomes greater than the fear of accepting it. That is when their ego will finally let go, when the universe will push them into surrender. And surrender, in this context, is not weakness, it is alignment. It is the soul taking its rightful place above fear. It is the moment they stop running from what has always been meant for them. And when that moment arrives, it will unfold not out of impulse, not out of loneliness, not out of confusion, but out of clarity, clear, grounded, unavoidable clarity. Their return will not be casual. It will not be a half-hearted message or a random check-in driven by boredom. Destiny does not orchestrate shallow reunions. What approaches is an act of truth, a gesture born from the recognition that denying this connection only brought them deeper into emptiness. They will come forward with humility, not the kind that bends, but the kind that stands firm in honesty. They will acknowledge, perhaps for the first time in their life, that their feelings are real, that they were overwhelmed, that they were afraid, that they tried to escape something that only grew stronger the further they ran, and that trying to silence their heart only amplified the truth they tried to suppress. But before this moment arrives, you must be prepared not for them, but for yourself. Because destiny does not only bring someone back, it brings them back into a version of you that can hold the connection without fear, without doubt, without emotional instability. The universe has been shaping you for this very reason. You are not meant to meet them again as the person you were, someone filled with uncertainty, longing, or fear of abandonment. You are meant to meet them as the version of yourself who has learned sovereignty, self-worth, and emotional clarity. The version of you who stands in your own light. Receptivity is not passive. It is a spiritual posture, a frequency, a quiet readiness that says, I am whole within myself, and I am open to what aligns with my truth. That is the energy destiny requires before reunion. Because if you are still anxious, still doubting, still clinging, you will mirror their old fears, and the cycle will repeat. But when you are centered, balanced, and grounded, you become the safe space their soul has longed for. And in that safety, the connection stabilizes, fear dissolves, love expands, destiny moves. So let go of expectation, let go of resentment. Let go of the urge to predict the moment or the method of their return. The universe writes better than your imagination ever could. Your only task now is to stay aligned with your own growth, because alignment is the magnet that pulls everything meant for you toward you. The end of this retreat is near, not because time is running out, but because transformation is reaching completion. As you continue walking through this inner transformation, you must understand something essential. The work you are doing on yourself does not exist in isolation. Healing is not a solitary phenomenon. It is an energetic ripple. Every shift in your consciousness sends a vibration through the field that connects you to this person. When you rise, the connection rises. When you stabilize, the connection stabilizes. When you detach from fear and step into your own power, you unconsciously give the other permission to do the same. This is why soul connections are never one-sided, even when the silence feels deafening. Behind the scenes, something far more intricate is unfolding, something that neither of you can see, yet both of you can feel. The universe is working on both ends of this connection. You have been pushed into healing your patterns of abandonment, your fear of not being enough, your need for external validation. Meanwhile, they have been confronted with the truth they have tried to avoid, the truth that their old defenses no longer protect them. Their usual escape routes, the distractions, the emotional distance, the attempts to intellectualize everything are failing. And what replaces these defenses is not peace, but discomfort, a discomfort that grows sharper every time they attempt to pretend they have moved on. That discomfort is the catalyst of transformation. The silence they give you is not a closed door. It is a battlefield where their ego and their soul collide. Their ego tells them that vulnerability is dangerous, that opening their heart will expose old wounds, that they should keep their guard high. But their soul whispers your name not with sound, but with familiarity, with that unexplainable sense of safety they felt when they were near you, with the memory of how your presence softened their harsh edges, with the echoes of the conversations or the energy exchanges that reached depths they didn't know they could access with another human being. They are beginning to realize that the emptiness they feel now is not loneliness, it is the absence of resonance, and resonance cannot be replaced. But the universe is not done with them yet. It keeps sending them signs, nudges, reminders, those subtle moments in their day where they see something that brings you to mind, or hear a song that triggers a memory, or suddenly feel a wave of emotion that appears out of nowhere. These moments are not coincidences, they are interruptions. Interruptions of the ego's illusion of control, and each interruption chips away at their resistance. This is not torment, this is awakening. You may not see it, but they are in their own dark night, the phase where the heart demands truth and the ego crumbles under its weight. Their pride is exhausting itself. Their fear is losing its power. Their avoidance is failing. The universe is forcing them to sit with the truth they have tried to outrun, that what they felt with you was real, that the connection never faded, that the silence didn't erase anything, that running only made the bond more undeniable. And there is a moment approaching for them, a moment of surrender, a moment when the pain of resisting will finally outweigh the fear of opening. That moment is the turning point destiny has been preparing both of you for. The moment when their soul steps forward and their ego steps aside. In that moment, their actions will not be impulsive or emotionally unstable. They will be deliberate, grounded, honest, vulnerable in a way they have avoided their whole life. But while the universe works on them, it also turns back to you with a crucial message. Your role is not to wait. Your role is to prepare, because preparation is the magnet that pulls destiny into form. You must rise into the version of yourself who can hold the connection without recreating old fears. You must anchor your energy in clarity so that when they return, the two of you do not fall back into patterns of insecurity or imbalance. That is why your inner work matters so deeply. You are not just healing, you are becoming the foundation upon which the connection will stand. To understand this more clearly, imagine a temple, an inner sanctuary that belongs only to you. This sanctuary must be built with intention, peace, and self-respect. It must become a space where your worth is not negotiable and your peace is not dependent on someone else's behavior. This is the place the universe has been guiding you to construct, a place where you no longer chase, no longer cling, no longer fear, where your love becomes grounded rather than anxious, expansive rather than desperate. Because the greatest form of receptivity is not waiting, it is radiating. The moment you embody peace, you become magnetic. The moment you embody self-love, you become unmistakable. The moment you stand in your sovereignty, you shift the entire dynamic of the connection. And in that shift, something extraordinary happens. The space between you becomes fertile ground for reunion. Not the reunion of two wounded souls seeking to fill each other's emptiness, but the reunion of two sovereign beings choosing to expand together. This is what destiny wants. Not codependency, not fear, not emotional volatility. Conscious union, a union that elevates both of you. A union built on clarity, not confusion. A union built on maturity, not projection. A union built on purpose, not impulse. But to stand in that space, You must let go of the timeline you imagined. You must release the urge to predict, control, or analyze the when and how. The universe is not delaying you, it is aligning you. Divine timing is not procrastination, it is precision. It happens at the moment that protects the connection, not the moment that satisfies impatience. And when the timing is right, there will be no resistance left to overcome, because both of you will finally be ready. This phase of preparation is also the phase where doubt attempts to return. Doubt asks, what if I'm mistaken? What if I'm imagining everything? But doubt is simply the echo of old wounds resurfacing, and the universe has an answer for that doubt: synchronicity. Signs that appear effortlessly, without you chasing them, moments of clarity that arrive in stillness, internal knowing that refuses to fade. These are the markers of a soul connection in motion. They don't come from fantasy, and they don't stem from need. They arise from alignment. If what you feel were merely projection, it would have evaporated the moment you tried to detach. But it hasn't, because some truths cannot be undone by willpower. Some connections cannot be unraveled by logic. Some bonds cannot be silenced by distance. What is meant continues to pulse beneath everything else, and this connection is meant. So allow yourself to trust not blindly, but intuitively. Trust the peace that sometimes washes over you out of nowhere. Trust the inner knowing you cannot explain. Trust the calm you feel when you stop fighting the process. These are not accidents. These are confirmations. And every confirmation is guiding you toward a moment that is already forming in the unseen, a moment when paths converge, wounds dissolve, and clarity replaces confusion. That moment is coming, and you are being shaped for it. You have walked through awakening, through discomfort, through silence, through clarity, yet all of it has been leading you to one final truth. Your intuition was never the problem. Doubt was, fear was, wounds were. But intuition, the quiet, steady pulse beneath the noise, has been guiding you from the start. The reason you haven't been able to shake this connection, no matter how much logic you pile on top of it, is because it is not housed in your mind, it is housed in your soul. And the soul cannot be convinced by arguments. It only responds to truth. The universe has been preparing you for the revelation that nothing has been random, not the timing, not the separation, not the intensity, not the unexplainable calm that always returns after a storm of emotions. Every moment has been an initiation, a series of lessons that forced you to grow into the version of yourself capable of receiving what you once only longed for. Because longing belongs to the unhealed, receiving belongs to the awakened. This person was not placed in your life to confuse you. They were placed to transform you, to push you into the depths of your own shadows so you could emerge with a clarity the past version of you never had. The ache you felt wasn't punishment, it was the stretch of your heart expanding. The silence wasn't abandonment, it was space for evolution. The distance wasn't rejection, it was divine preparation. You were being refined, not replaced, strengthened, not dismissed, initiated, not ignored. And now, as your inner transformation nears completion, you must understand what is happening on the other side of this connection. They are undergoing their own awakening, one that mirrors yours, though it unfolds differently. They are beginning to feel a shift they can no longer deny, a restlessness that no distraction soothes, a calling that grows louder each time they attempt to silence it. The truth is rising within them like a tide, slow but unstoppable. They are remembering, not in the way the mind remembers facts, but in the way the soul remembers recognition. They remember the safety your presence brought, the way they felt more themselves near you than they ever felt alone, the way truth seemed easier to access when you were around. They remember the resonance, the indescribable harmony between your energies. They remember the moments when time softened, when the world quieted, when something ancient stirred inside them, as if they had known you long before this lifetime. They may not be able to put it into words, but they feel it, and that feeling is awakening them from denial. The universe is removing their excuses one by one. Obstacles are dissolving, old patterns are cracking open. Their fear, the very thing that once held them back, is losing power. And as the fear dissolves, clarity takes its place. The clarity that says, this connection was real, it has always been real, and running from it has only deepened the longing. They are nearing the moment where surrender becomes inevitable, a moment when their soul speaks louder than their ego ever could, a moment when the truth they tried to silence becomes too powerful to ignore. And when that moment arrives, there will be no hesitation, no ambiguity, no half-hearted attempt to reconnect. What is coming is not a breadcrumb, not a vague message, not a confused return driven by emotion. What is coming is a conscious offering, a deliberate act of truth, a gesture saturated with humility and certainty. They will return not because they miss you, but because they finally understand what you are. But here is the final lesson destiny needs you to embody. You must be ready to receive without collapsing into old patterns. When they come back, they cannot meet the old you, the version of yourself who doubted, chased, feared, or shrank. They must meet the version of you who has grown through the fire, the version who has become grounded, purposeful, sovereign, the version who no longer seeks completion, but shares wholeness. You are not meant to repeat old cycles, you are meant to transcend them. To do so, you must still refine one final frequency: receptivity. True receptivity is not waiting, it is alignment. It is a quiet strength that does not force, does not expect, does not fear. It is the inner knowing that what is meant for you cannot pass you, because it is tied to your destiny, not to someone's temporary confusion. Receptivity is the energy of calm readiness, the state where your heart is open, but your foundation is unshakable, where your love is soft, but your boundaries are clear, where your presence is warm, but your worth is non-negotiable. To activate this frequency, you must release the last chains of expectation, let go of imagined scenarios, let go of timelines, let go of the need to control how the reunion happens, let go of resentment because resentment is a barrier to receiving. Forgive without forgetting the lessons. Soften without abandoning your strength. Stay centered even as destiny begins to move, because movement is coming, and you will feel it not as anxiety, but as peace. Your transformation is the beacon that guides them home. Their awakening is the echo that answers your soul, and the universe stands ready to bridge the space between you at the moment alignment is complete. The reunion that awaits is not an emotional collision, not a return to old patterns, not a swirl of confusion and longing. It is union conscious, grounded, expansive union, the kind of union that can only occur when both souls have walked through the fire and emerged whole. And when this moment arrives, it will feel eerily familiar, not because you've lived it before in this lifetime, but because your souls recognize it. Because somewhere in the unseen, the connection between you has been waiting, pulsing, preparing. This reunion will not be a coincidence. It will be the fulfillment of a path you have been walking since the moment your energies first touched. A path your intuition recognized long before your mind understood. Carry this truth with you. The universe does not tease your heart. It teaches it. It does not awaken longing without preparing fulfillment. It does not create recognition without writing its continuation. What is meant for your soul cannot be lost. It can only be delayed until you are ready to hold it with the strength and awareness it deserves. So trust what rises within you. Trust the peace that comes after the storms. Trust the signs that appear without effort. Trust the alignment that feels too precise to be random. Trust the unseen forces working in your favor. And trust that when the moment arrives, you will not have to question it. You will feel the certainty you've been seeking all along. This person is meant for you, not to complete you, but to accompany the version of you that has finally learned to stand in its own light. And now, all that remains is to continue walking in that light, because everything written for you is already moving toward you.